Hello everyone. Today I'll be discussing how the Supreme Court has interpreted the constitutional right to privacy. I'll cover two landmark cases that help establish privacy rights and two modern cases that show how those rights continue to evolve. I'll begin with Olmstead versus the United States, then move towards Griswold versus Connecticut, where the court recognized the constitutional right to privacy. And then I'll finish with Carpenter versus the United States and Dobbs versus Jackson, which involves women's health organization. One thing I learned is that the Constitution never actually says rights to privacy, yet the court has spent decades defining what that means. So Olmstead versus the United States, which happened in 1928, it covers Roy Olmstead, who was investigated for bootlegging during the Prohibition era. Federal agents wiretapped his phone without entering his property. The court ruled there was no Fourth Amendment violation because there wasn't a physical search. As a peace officer, this case stood out to me because today electronic evidence always requires a search warrant supported by probable cause. And it just shows how much privacy law has changed. So the majority opinion in Brandeis dissent, it refers to the majority focus on the property rights and physical intrusions. Justice Brandeis disagreed. He believed the Constitution should protect people, not just places, and he warned that technology would eventually create new privacy concerns. He called privacy the right to be let alone. I think this dissent was ahead of its time because it influenced later cases involving phones, GPS tracking, and electronic data. The next case I'll cover is Griswold versus Connecticut, which occurred in 1965. So Griswold challenged a Connecticut law that banned contraceptives for married couples. The Supreme Court ruled that the law was unconstitutional because married couples have a constitutional right to privacy. This case is important because the court recognized a privacy right even though those exact words aren't found in the Constitution. This next slide will cover penumbra and emanations. The court explained that the rights listed in the Constitution create additional protections around them. And so the way to think about it is as a light casting a shadow. Those protections combine to create a broader constitutional right to privacy. So the amendments that support privacy for you and I, main ones are First, Third, Fourth, Fifth, and Ninth Amendment. Together they support the right to privacy. As a deputy sheriff, the Fourth Amendment stands out to me because it directly affects search warrants and investigations. And one thing I found interesting is that the court relied on several amendments working together instead of just one. So on this next slide, I'll cover Carpenter versus United States, which occurred in 2018. I found this case brief on OAs, and it covers how police obtained historical cell phone location records without a warrant. The court ruled that people have a reasonable expectation of privacy in that information, so a warrant is generally required. As a peace officer, I understand how valuable cell phone evidence is, but I also understand why the court wanted stronger privacy protections because a phone can reveal almost everything about someone's daily life. Where they go, who they talk to, who they text, where they frequent, all kinds of information. So I completely understand that. On this next slide, I'll cover Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, which occurred in 2022. I also found this case brief on OAs, and it covers the court considered whether the Constitution protects a right to abortion under the right to privacy. The court ruled that it does not and overturned Roe versus Wade. What's interesting to me about this case is that it shows constitutional interpretation can change over time and that privacy continues to be one of the court's most debated issues. In conclusion, These cases show how the Supreme Court's understanding of privacy has evolved. Olmsted started the conversation, Brandeis helped shape the future, Griswold established privacy as a constitutional principle, Carpenter applied it to modern technology, and Dobbs showed that the debate is still evolving. As both a citizen and a peace officer, I think these cases remind us that protecting constitutional rights and enforcing the law must always go hand in hand. I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation, and I hope you guys have a great day.